One very interesting concept in the world of admissions is that of identity capital. What is identity capital? Think about capital in general. If you have a lot of capital in the bank, you are a wealthy person. You are a person with a lot of resources, and with those resources you can do a lot. Identity capital is the same thing, but it's how much you have deposited in your personal bank. What are the skills and talents that you have that make you you? An identity capital can be things that go on a resume, but it can also be things such as where you're from, and not only that, but different life experiences. It's pretty much who you are. Experiences that you had that make you who you are bit by bit over time. I really want you to think about what is your identity capital. And your identity capital is pretty much what are all the assets that you can bring to my university and really contribute to my university. That's almost like a personal currency that you bring to my program. And now we're going to go through an exercise that will allow you to visually see where you are in terms of your identity capital. How much do you have right now under each category, and also determine which categories you actually have to work harder to build your identity capital. So here are some elements that are part of your identity capital as an applicant. Your GPA, so we have metrics. We have your GPA, we have standardized tests, we have grade trends. And here in this graph, you can actually download this graph from our website. What you're going to see is that here you have at the very bottom would be a GPA of, let's say, 0, if that is even possible. And at the very top is a GPA of 4.0, is the maximum you can get. And what you're going to do is you're going to print this file, and then you're going to color where you think you stand. So if you have a 2.0 GPA, you would probably be very low on the GPA bar here. And if you have a 3.8, you would probably color or paint almost the entire GPA bar. Now look at standardized tests if you have taken them or not. If you haven't taken them, think about, if you haven't taken the OET, for example, think about your SATs. Did you do well in it? Look at grade trends. Have you had a bumpy ride, or have you been pretty consistent? If you have been really consistent, then you probably can paint in terms of your GPA. And of course, it's being consistent in having a good GPA, then you probably want to paint the entire bar here. Then we're going to look at experiences. What are the leadership roles that you have had? Community service. Different life experiences that make you different from everybody else, that only you can claim. It could be anything from playing the piano, or if you're a rock climber, or if you are the newspaper editor. It could be any life experience that you had that makes you different. Affiliations, and affiliations here I mean by different clubs and associations that you may be a part of, or maybe church, or different groups of interest that you're a member of. Then you look at your healthcare experience, and that is again your shadowing experience. How many doctors have you shadowed? How much have you learned about the profession? And that bar, I have to say, if you want to be a purple cow, if you want to be a competitive applicant, it needs to be filled all the way to the top. And if you haven't done it, so you really need to work hard on this particular bar. Then we have research experience. Research experience, depending on the program you're applying for, it's not a requirement. So if it's not a requirement, you can ignore that particular bar. But if it is, if you are pursuing, for example, let's say an ODMS, a doctor in optometry plus a Master of Science in Vision Science, you may want to have some research experience, so you can color it accordingly. And then we have knowledge of events. And that is, how much do you know about what is happening in the world around you? And particularly in the world of healthcare, and particularly in the world of the profession you're choosing, in this case, optometry. What I find very often is that the students don't read newspapers. They don't know what is happening in the world beyond what they're studying in college. So I encourage you to download an app on your smartphone of a major news outlet and scan it every morning. What are people what are the news on politics and healthcare, especially healthcare, particularly if you're applying for a healthcare program, that's what you need. So current topics nowadays is Ebola, for example. So right now when we're recording this, Ebola is a big, there was just the outbreak of Ebola in Dallas. So those are things that you want to be able to talk about. Also, the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, how is that impacting your profession or your future profession? These may be things that you might be asked during the interview, and you have to have a basic understanding of them. Then there are different attributes that we look when we talk about identity capital. Maturity level, race and ethnicity, intellectual curiosity and interests are their particular areas that you're curious or interested about, so know how to talk about them. Personal characteristics and personal skills that differentiate you from others. So the idea is that you go through this exercise and you color these bars. The very bottom, of course, meaning that you have 0 of that particular attribute. And if you color everything, of course, you're perfect in that particular attribute. And then every morning when you wake up, you know what to work on. You know that if your experience bar is not fully colored, that's what you need to work on. And you're going to do everything you can to fill that bar to the best of your ability. You're going to start building your identity capital. So when you start building your application and when you come for an interview, you're a wholesome applicant. You're an applicant that has many different facets to it. And you have thought about all these areas that will be evaluated when you apply.